Student loans was the worst mistake of my life.
I owe a mortgage amount of student loans. Yep, that's how much I owe.
Is this a fucking joke? Is this a fucking joke?
$750,000 paid back on a $130,000 loan.
My name's Sarah. I'm a 27-year-old single mom and nurse just trying to get my financial life together, and that means moving into my parents' garage so I can pay off $51,000 worth of student loan debt.
$220,000 in student loan debts, and that sucks. It sucks.
I just checked my student loans because I needed to get the information to someone, and what the fuck? I started with $80,000. I have been paying for 10 years. Last year, I paid $6,000 lump sum because that's really the only way to get it low. That took it down to $76,000 after I've been paying for 9 years. The grand total is I have paid $120,000 and I still owe $76,000. How the fuck is this possible? What? I think I might be late to the game learning about this. Student loans are really messed up.
We are slaves to student debt.
Between myself and my children, I owe $211,000 in student loan debt.
I borrowed $60,000 and now I'm $268,000 in debt.
I borrowed $70,000. Over 10 years, I paid $60,000, and I still owe $75,000 more than I borrowed.
The interest is so high and it's compounded daily, it's predatory.
If these loans don't go away, they're going to garnish my Social Security. So not only do I not have any retirement savings, I have less than what I was promised for every time I paid my Social Security out of my paycheck for the last 40 years.
I owe a mortgage amount of student loans. Yep, that's how much I owe. For those of you who say that you shouldn't borrow money or, whatever, if you can't pay it back and you guys don't believe in loan forgiveness and whatever because we borrowed it, I'm telling you, I want to pay it back. I literally can't. I have paid it back and then some. I can't do this. And no matter what I do, I'm stuck. And I chose a career where I am a civil servant for the rest of my life. Does this mean I need to be punished like this?
I have student loans that total just over $1 million.
You're kidding me.
And no, sir.
What were you thinking?
Well, I wasn't thinking clearly. I've sat down and calculated my interest rates, and my interest is about $5,800 a month.
I'm currently over $46,000 in debt, so pay off a student loan with me. Right now, I currently have loans out for $46,205. That's so much money.
I'll die with student loan debt. You can't get out of it.
How much in student loans?
So my schooling was $90,000. I'm close to $200,000 in debt with interest.
How long has it been?
Almost 20 years ago.
The narrative shift is happening right now in the gaslighting I'm seeing from when I was a kid being told all the time, my entire life up until I was 18, you have to go to college. If you want to have any chance at getting a good paying job and taking care of yourself, you have to go to college. To now being, oh, you went to college? Oh, that was really dumb. Why did you do that? And it's actually even worse than that because I didn't get a degree. Okay, I don't need college loan forgiveness. But a lot of the people that did finish and went to school and got degrees, not only in like high paying positions, but stuff where it directly affects the economy and people's health, like nurses, like lawyers, like doctors. And for the economy to go absolutely in the crapper, leading to many of those jobs not being able to support themselves while also paying off a student loan. To tell those people that they were dumb for trying to do that, it's kind of like saying, wow, you believe that you were going to have a good economy? You believe that being a nurse was a good job? Wow, that was stupid. It's got to be the biggest flip-flop narrative switch I've ever seen in my entire life. The vast majority of people that went to college and got degrees, finished school, did all the training, that was not a dumb decision. The economy just tanked and wages didn't keep up with it. That's what the real problem is, guys.
Is this a fucking joke? Is this a fucking joke? 4 times the amount that I took out in student loans, and that's the discharge amount I'm gonna owe. Are you fucking kidding me? And I have 3.5 years left to pay, so I can be forgiven at 20 years. And all of a sudden, the website's down, okay? They can't tell you how many payments you've made, how many you have left, what year you're forgiven, even though I called months ago and I found out I'll be forgiven in 3.6 years. But now I don't even have that information. Where did it go? I'm just supposed to choose this payment from, I used to pay $81 a month. If I go here, I have to go all the way up to 30 years. Look at the discharge amount. Are you fucking kidding me?
So I just did some absolutely horrific math. I was looking at my student loans and how much I owe, and I just want to give you a little example of how horrible these and crippling these student loans can be for a lot of people. So the principal amount of money that I owe the federal government at this point in my life is $396,945.67. That number already is insane. Okay, but all right. Here comes the scary part. The current interest rate on that loan for me is 5.875% per year. So that breaks down to $1,943.38 of interest that grows on my principal amount per month. I'm looking at the numbers, that's why I keep reading something. But okay, so I owe just about $2,000 of interest on my loan. Okay? Now, as a resident, I make right now $4,054.98 per month. Okay? So based on those numbers, the amount of interest per month that I owe comes out to be 47.9% of my current monthly paycheck. And that's the interest. I'm not making any progress on the principal loan. And that's if I put half of my paycheck towards this loan. Are you kidding me? That is a crazy amount of money. And like, I get it. Eventually, as a physician, as an attending physician, I will be able to pay this off. But right now, our goal is to just pay off the interest every year so that the second I get my full attending paycheck, we can start actually making progress on this loan. But I just think this is so ridiculous, honestly. Like, that is such an insane amount of money. And like, we make so little as residents, and like, how would I even, this would grow to be, if I didn't pay any of this interest off, this would end up being like $600,000 by the time I was done residency. That's crazy. What is this?
Seeing these clips blow up online right now is really wild. But honestly, I'm not surprised. People are showing their monthly bills on their student loans, and it's insane. Some of these student loans interest and payments are high as a mortgage payment. Think about that. You are no longer paying for a loan, now it has become like your second mortgage. People are dropping hundreds, sometimes over $1,000 every month, just to watch the balance and the interest keep piling up. You may make a payment, log back into your accounts, and the overall balance didn't even drop. In fact, your balance grew. It feels like running on a treadmill that's moving backwards. Let's watch these other clips.
So as it turns out, the student loans that I've been paying $1,500 a month for 2 years have a 17% interest rate. So what I thought I've been paying off for all this time, I'm actually like, I owe more than what I started off with. What the fuck? I'm gonna be in debt for my whole fucking life. How does that even make sense? I signed up for this shit when I was 17. Like, this should not be legal, bro.
Student loan delinquencies in the United States of America are surging to their highest rate in a very long time. Now, 9.2 million Americans, 25% of student loan borrowers are in default and have their student loans delinquent.
I am so tired of these people when you start complaining about student loans that come into the freaking comments and are like, oh no, you actually have to pay back what you took. How horrible. Oh, you took a loan out and you have to pay it back. Pay back what you took. We're not talking about that. We're not saying that we don't want to pay back what we took. We're saying if I took 20 grand out, the max I should owe back is 25. There should be a cap. Okay, fine. I will pay you $5,000 because you gave me 20. I will pay that. But if I took out $20,000 in student loans and 20 years later I owe 80 grand and I've been paying on them for 20 years, that's the problem. We can never pay these off because the interest is so freaking high that we can't pay it off. And we're making payments and it's not even going down. That's the problem. That's what we're saying. And here's another thing. If someone goes to prison for 12 years because they robbed a bank or committed, tried to murder someone, and they go, oh, you know what? I'm gonna get my master's degree while I'm in here. And it's free, and they get out after 12 years and they go get a job using that master's degree and they don't have any student loans to pay back. Why do we? Why is college free for prisoners, but the rest of the world can't get college for free? Why is that? It's just another freaking way that America finds to scam us Americans. They scam us. Just like life insurance is a scam, health insurance is a scam, home insurance is a scam, car insurance is a scam, taxes are a scam. Tax me when I get paid, when I spend it, when I buy something. Tax me once, one time. Tax my money when I get paid. After that, I'm done. Why am I paying taxes on stuff that you've already taxed me on? It's a scam. I'm over life. I'm over it. Everything in life is freaking hard. Rant's over. Sorry. Have a great
So this person wants to know how I'm $180,000 in college debt at the age of 24 and I've only obtained a bachelor's degree. So I have a 4-year Bachelor's of Science and Environmental Science degree from a public out-of-state university. And I did not originally borrow $180,000 for this degree. I originally borrowed about $130,000 privately and then like $20,000 I think federally across the 4 years. So why did I borrow $130,000 privately in the first place? Well, I never intended to. I intended to borrow enough money for the private loan for the first year to pay for out-of-state tuition and then try for in-state tuition the following years, except I went to school in the fall of 2019 and then in the spring of 2020, COVID-19 happened and never really let up until the spring of 2022, which was the end of my junior year of college. So the in-state tuition thing never really happened for me, which was my original plan. Originally, I did not intend for it to cost as much or catch up to me as much. I also paid on those private loans while I was in school, and I had paid back $50,000 of the $130,000 while I was in school. And then when I graduated school, my remaining balance or new balance on my loans was $160,000. So leaving school, they have me for $80,000 worth of interest alone. Because I borrowed $130,000, I paid back $50,000, I then owe $160,000. My minimum monthly payment, which I currently pay every month, is $2,300, almost $2,400. And I was told unless I could pay $4,000 a month by both the loan company I went through, which was Sallie Mae, and some other banks and some other number crunching people and the National Debt Relief people, that if I don't pay a minimum amount of like $4,000 or more a month, or if I keep paying the minimum $2,300, almost $2,400 that I am paying a month over the lifetime of the loan, if I do not default on it, which is a struggle because I still have to buy food, pay for rent, medical care, not really existent for me at this point. If I don't default and I pay that amount over the lifetime of the loan, I don't even want to say it. They told me it would cost me $750,000. $750,000 paid back on a $130,000 loan. So yeah, I'm in that much debt because I didn't pay attention to the amount I was borrowing, or the interest rates, or the fact that they were variable interest rates and they might have started at like 4 or 5%, like the federal ones, and then they went up to 12.5%, 16.5%. And even though I paid them as much as I could and had a job, part-time, full-time job, the entire time I was in school, the interest is still catching up to me. So the only thing I can do is refinance, but I can't refinance until I fix my debt to income. So I'm just working as much as possible to make as much as possible to try to snowball effect on these loans so that I can get the balance low enough and have my income be high enough to try to refinance and lower these interest rates. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Bro, how the fuck am I supposed to pay off my student loans and y'all expecting me to fucking live? Y'all let everybody else graduate. But when 2024, 2025 graduate, y'all expecting that payment immediately. Tax on that motherfucker. It's already bad we having life hard enough. I mean, y'all trying to fucking kill us out here. Extra $20. But now y'all talking about y'all finna garnish niggas' checks? Bro, it's people out here still making under $20, having trouble paying the bills that they're paying now, and y'all trying to tax that with y'all overpriced ass fucking... And don't get me started with the job market right now. I mean, it's a complete joke, bro. You graduate with a degree, you apply to a job, a corporate level job, and they asking for 5 years experience, bro. Once again, Gen Z's cooked. We might as well just start working 24-hour shifts, bro.
Last night I had to log into my student loan account to print out the paperwork to have my taxes done today. So I got to get a glimpse of my student loan balance for the first time in, I don't know, presumably a year. I honestly don't remember knowing what I owed still. Now, for a point of reference, I graduated in 2011. Okay, so I've been making student loan payments for almost 14 years. I actually did the math. It was about 165 monthly student loan payments that I've made so far. Okay, now I went to pharmacy school. I'm a pharmacist. That's a doctorate degree. It took 6 years. I went to a private school, not because I wanted to, but at the time, there were only 6 schools in the state of Pennsylvania with a pharmacy program. 2 of them were state schools, 4 of them were private. Chose the school I chose because they gave me a $12,000 a year academic scholarship for the first 4 years. So I got $48,000 worth of academic scholarship. So that's why I chose that school. So my education, even with the scholarship, cost still like $250,000, roughly. Now, I'm fortunate my parents paid for a really good chunk of that, over $100,000. I don't remember the exact numbers, honestly, of how it all washed out. But I do know when I got my first student loan bill in the mail, well, I almost shit a brick, but my balance was like right around $125,000. Okay, 165 monthly payments on $125,000. How much do you think I still owe? $78,000. Yeah, I don't know. The math isn't mathing. Now, full disclosure, I did refinance at some point, which is a horrible idea. Like at the time, it seems like a good idea because the monthly payments are so like overwhelming. But in the long run, you're screwing yourself when you refinance the student loan. You just are. So 165 monthly payments. I never deferred it. I never missed a payment. And I still owe $78,000. And I've been out of school for 14 years. My oldest turns 10 next week. So realistically, if she decides to go to college, I'm going to be still paying my student loans and likely still owe like $30,000 on my student loans when I'm trying to figure out how to pay for her college. And I don't know what the solution is to this whole situation. I don't think loan forgiveness is fair. I don't think taxpayers who didn't go to college should have to have their tax money pay off the student loans for those who did choose to go to college. I don't think that's fair at all. But I do think something needs to be done because universities are charging like obscene tuition. Student loan companies are doing predatory lending to children and setting up people for like a lifetime of debt. Like you're starting out your adult life with like crippling debt. And I don't know what the solution is here, but something isn't working.
I logged on to studentaid.gov today because my loans are in forbearance, and I figured, hey, maybe while they're in forbearance, I can make some extra payments and try and get the principal down. You can't. You have to pay the interest first. So not only do I have $5,000 of accrued interest, like already, daily interest rate for my loans is $24.89, which means if there's a 31-day month, in order for me to touch any bit of principal on my loans, I have to pay the $5,000, and then I also have to pay over $771.71 for any of my principal to ever be touched. Cool. Cool. Love it here.
I'm in debt. I'm in a lot of debt. I'm sick and tired of being in debt, but I'm also sick and tired of working to get out of debt. I don't want to be in debt. I got myself in debt, but I'm trying to get out of debt. But it's taking forever. Please help.
Why is college in America so insanely expensive? Right now, Americans owe $1.7 trillion in student loan debt, and 1 in 4 borrowers are in default. Before the 1960s, banks were extremely careful. They only lent small amounts and only for degrees that had a realistic chance of paying off. So if you couldn't afford college, you just simply couldn't go, which meant colleges couldn't charge crazy amounts because people couldn't afford crazy amounts. But in 1965, the government started to guarantee student loans. Suddenly, lenders weren't taking any risk. If borrowers didn't pay them back, the government, as in the taxpayer, would cover the losses. So an 18-year-old could borrow tens of thousands of dollars with no collateral and no ability to pay it back anytime soon. In any normal capitalist market, prices are limited by whatever customers are able to pay out of their pocket. But once the government started to guarantee the loans, students weren't paying with cash, they were paying with whatever they could borrow. They were paying with future debt that's backed by the US Treasury. A family who could only afford to pay $3,000 for college could now afford $30,000 because the money wasn't coming from them, it was coming from debt. If students can borrow more, colleges can charge more. So they did. With unlimited guaranteed money flooding in, colleges had no incentive to control costs. Administrative staff exploded. Campuses added luxury dorms, lazy rivers, climbing walls. From 1980 to 2020, college tuition went up 1,200%. That's faster than inflation, wages, and even healthcare costs. That's why college tuition is so expensive. Now in part 2, we'll talk about how to fix it.
Millions of people just saw their credit score drop because they haven't paid their student loans. Over 2 million people just saw their credit score drop by 100 points. An additional million people just saw their credit score drop by 150 points because they haven't paid their student loans. Boy, this government is not playing at all. And I know what some people might think, oh, that's good for them. That's what they get. They should just go ahead and pay it. But to literally tank your credit score is wild. I see some people just like, fuck it. Fuck the credit score, fuck the student loan. I don't know about that. I can't fuck up my credit score like that. Going from a 700 credit score to a 600 credit score because of your student loan sounds crazy. That is crazy as hell. You just went from being able to get a decent car loan to being approved at 20% interest rate. Some of these drops are as bad as bankruptcies. Boy, I'm so glad I paid my shit. That shit sounds scary as hell. But I see some people just like, man, I can't even pay it. I can't make an extra $200 payment per month. I just can't do it. So just know, if you ain't looked at them student loans, they ain't going nowhere. They ain't going nowhere.
Has anyone else noticed how expensive student loans are? Like, we know how expensive student loans are, but what I've realized today, because I have a payment due to the government, I went in and said, how much do I actually owe on my minimum? Now, I know all of our loans are currently in forbearance until early 2026, but I still have to make payments because we're still accruing interest. So I decided I'm going to click on this and make the payment that I've been making for the past 10 years since I graduated college, which is $394, right? About $400 a month. Now, explain to me why I looked and my balance went up for a third month in a row. And I'm like, this is weird. I actually don't know at this point in time what my minimum payment should be in order to clear out the interest, right? So I went to the government's website and decided that I was going to enter into the stimulator, calculator, whatever it is. Why? I'm shaking. Why did it pop out and say that my minimum payment to break even every single month is $1,500? That is an $1,100 increase from what I've been paying for the past 10 years. It says I should have this paid off in the next 8 years because obviously the government is fucking greedy and wants their money now. They said by 2033, you will have paid off your $107,000 of public student loan debt. And I said, okay, how much should I pay on that? $135,000. Obviously, I understand how loans work. I get that. But explain the fuck to... You are saying that we have a crisis where Americans are not having enough children. I can't afford to stay in my own fucking apartment. What do you mean you want me to have children? I'm about to be on the street. I just called my mom and said, you might be getting a new roommate. Because I can't imagine if they raise my rent one fucking penny, how I'm going to be able to afford my apartment anymore. Because the government, starting in 2026, want me to pay $1,500 as a minimum payment? What? Excuse me? And then they're like, turn around, Ben. Why aren't you buying a house? Turn around, Ben. Why aren't you having kids? I can't afford to drink this coffee that's in front of me. You put tariffs up the fucking wazoo on this one? I don't understand how they want us to survive. And this is no longer going to be a country where we are able to not only thrive, survive. They are going to put us all into the fucking poorhouse. Something is going to break so soon.
I'm going to share my stupidity and ignorance with student loans. My name's Carrie. I am a nurse practitioner, and student loans has haunted me for 17 plus years. That is how long I've been a nurse, and it has affected my mental health. It's affected my financial situation. It has affected my life. It affected my first marriage. I'm now divorced and I'm remarried, but it affected that. It put a strain on my family, and it almost destroyed me. First, I was told when I was getting my 2-year degree that I should take out whatever loans are available to me, and that it's likely when I graduate, they'll all be paid back. Well, I'm a baby, so I'm 20 years old at this time, and I've never been taught anything about finance. I've never been directed in the right path with what I should and should not do with that. So I just said, yeah, that sounds great. Everything sounds great. So the money kept coming in, right? An $8,000 check, a $6,000 check, semester by semester. And then I developed a habit where I thought that was just the norm because I didn't take a break in school. So I went and got my bachelor's degree, and then I went and got my doctorate degree. So it was really no big breaks long enough where I could realize, hey, this was a bad decision. Stop. I'm talking thousands of dollars of student loans. Now, they did pay for my school. It did pay for my books. I continued to work while I was going to school because I needed to, and I wanted that experience. And instead of taking the minimal amount to help me get through college, I didn't. I just took whatever was available. It affected me so negatively. It has caused strain and worry and has developed my compassion fatigue as a nurse, or part of it, because I immediately needed to work more because that first couple of months out of school, you have to start paying your loans. And so that worry was always there. And it led to me hating what I was doing because I was working so very much. Now, I have completely paid off my private loans, thank God. Yes, I had private loans and public loans. Did that. Private about did me in because the interest rate just kept soaring higher and higher and higher. And I could never get out. I always felt like I was under pressure and just barely keeping my head out of water, if that makes sense. So I still have my public student loans, and I'm 37, and I started school when I was 20, and I've been out since 2014. It's been miserable, let me just say that. But I've developed this channel specifically to help mentor nurses, to help prevent burnout, to help current burnout, to talk about student loans and the issues that surrounds that, because it's a real thing, and it has followed me around for my whole adult life.
Today I'm trying something new. This is my last ditch effort. I am drowning in student debt. I have over $75,000 in student debt, and I'm not even done with school.
Something I don't talk about in the student loan space as a whole is going to be the detriment to your mental health. My name is Katie. I took out $220,000 of student loans, and that's fucking stupid. That was so fucking stupid. But I'm gonna pay it back. So I know I did this to myself. I have no one else to blame but me. And I get that. That's totally fine. But it has taken such a toll on my mental health. Like, I was given and diagnosed with financial OCD because of it. And I have been living with anxiety for years. I have been doing this for 5 years, just sitting with not just the anxiety and the need and the impatience of paying them off, but the guilt, the disgust, the anger at my past self for taking those loans out. And so if you're in that kind of spot where you are just trying to figure out how to survive every single day, and every second of every day you're thinking about your student loans, my name's Katie. I was in the same boat. I'm still in the same boat sometimes. I did get help. I got professional help for that. But I'm happy to chat because you feel so isolated and you feel so alone, especially not just having student loans, but then having like these mental health issues with the student loans. So I just come on here to say you're not alone. You're not crazy. I'm happy to chat.
So if you are not a person who is paying attention to student loans, which is really two camps of people, the first is people who don't have student loans, and the second is people who have student loans who don't want to fucking think about them, which I totally understand. But if you've not been paying attention to that, you probably are not aware that the Trump administration recently has taken a very generous read of the current posture of the litigation over the Biden SAVE program. If you're not familiar with the SAVE program, basically the Biden administration came up with a new income-based repayment plan or income-driven repayment plan that allows people to have lower monthly payments, which is not a form of loan forgiveness, though forgiveness is in effect a part of the SAVE litigation, that allows people basically to fucking live their lives and pay their bills and not become crippled by student loan debt because we're all just trying to contribute to this fantastic American economy that we find ourselves stuck with at this point. But in any event, the Trump administration has decided, because the particular program, the SAVE program, has been paused by federal courts, what that means to them, because these are people who cannot read, is that there are no income-based repayment plans any longer. And so if you have not heard about this now, you are very likely to in the next couple of months, because as people come up on their post-COVID income-based recertification, which is something you typically have to do annually, is tell the federal government, here's how much I make so you can learn how much to charge me. And a lot of us have not had to do that for the last going on nearly exactly 5 years at this point. That people's payments, what they are finding is when they go to the student aid website, is that that's actually not an option any longer, is to recertify your plan. They just took it off because that's what they wanted to do, and no one seems to be doing anything about it. So what that then results in is you go back to what is called a standard repayment plan, where the federal government will amortize your loan basically over a period of like 10 years. So if you are like me and you've been on an income-based plan and your payment is in the hundreds of dollars a month, and you cannot then recertify that plan and go to a graduated repayment plan, it's going to be thousands, literally thousands of dollars, like to the extent where I will then have to make a decision, not a very hard one for me personally, about whether I will pay my mortgage or I will pay my student loans. And guess what? I'm not paying the fucking student loans. But I just wanted to talk about this for a moment because I think people don't understand the nature of how ridiculous these things are. So, for example, and I'm going to flip the camera around here so you can take a look at it. This is the homepage for studentaid.gov right there. And what this tells me is that I have 6 outstanding loans and that the total original amount awarded was for $147,740. Before you say any fucking thing about that, I want you to know that that amount is purely law school tuition. Purely law school tuition. When I went to college, because God forbid you freeloaded a little bit. When I went to college, my parents paid for my college tuition, all of my undergrad, straight fucking cash. Not a scholarship, not a grant, nothing. Every single dime of that was paid straight cash to a private Catholic institution. And if there's an enormous amount of privilege in that, I'm happy to acknowledge it because it was a blessing, an absolute blessing that I realize a lot of people don't have, and I was very lucky to have it. But the faucet dried up when I went to grad school, and so I had to pay for grad school myself, which is fine. And in order to do that, I financed it with student loans. I went to a state school, I had scholarships, and the ultimate number that you are looking at there, the $147,740 is how much I borrowed to get a law school education. But you will notice, if you're paying attention to the big fucking number in the middle of the screen, is that somehow, since graduating 10 years ago with $147,000 in student loan debt, I now owe them $75,000 more dollars. $75,000 more dollars. And what's even more crazy about that is I have made 107 qualifying payments. So for 107 payments I have made, and I have 133 payments remaining there, and my estimated payoff of this is August of 2036. In the 107 payments that I have made since 2015 when I graduated, I have somehow paid off $1,600 of my loans. 107 payments. I have paid off $1,600 of my loan, and I owe $75,000 more than when I started. Part of that is because you look up here, right, and you see this tab here for the interest. So the principal right now is $198,531.20. The interest is $28,000. At the end of this year, when I go to recertify my loans, what the federal government will do is they will take that $28,000 in interest and they will put it on top of the $198,000 in principal. So my principal balance at that point in time will be, and it's going up every day, $226,000 plus. Even though I've paid them 107 times, the whack that I've made at the principal, because the interest rate is so fucking high, is $1,600 in 10 years. This is what people are pissed off about, because it should not be possible that over a course of 10 years, I've paid you 107 times, and I somehow owe you $75,000 more than when I started. If people want to talk about a fix to the student loans that is not forgiveness, I will tell you exactly the way to do it. The first is you make the totality of the student loan payment tax deductible. 100% of that, you make it tax deductible. The second is you make all student loans a 0% interest, permanently in perpetuity. You also do that retroactively, meaning that for somebody like me who has made 107 payments, because I pay it every fucking month, on time, in full, that would actually make a dent in the $147,000 that the federal government loaned to me of my own tax dollars, because that's where they get the money. Simple fix, actually. If you told me when I graduated law school, you have 20 years or 10 years even to repay $147,000 and that's it, I would be trying real hard to get it done. But when you tell me 10 years into this fucking thing that I haven't paid anything, and I owe you $75,000 more. And by the way, my payment's going to increase tenfold because you've taken away the one plan that allows me to keep a roof over my family's head and pay the government back the money that they have from me to give me in the first place. Nah, fuck you. It's not going to happen. Take a number. Take a number. Absolutely not in a million years going to happen. Pay attention to this because there are a lot, millions of Americans, in fact, who are on income-based repayment plans. My recertification is due in December. And I will tell you, come December of this year, if the federal government says to me, you owe us $5,000 a month, I'm going to say no. And so will millions of other people. Watch this house of cards disintegrate. Because when it comes to making a decision of do I need to squeeze a bill here or there to make sure I can get this paid, I will do it. If it comes to, do I no longer have the ability to have a home or a car to get around so I can get to work or any of that shit, that's actually not a choice to make at all. It's just not going to happen.
When we were young, we were told that getting a degree was the only way to secure a good future for yourself. But nobody wants a 17-year-old that interest rates are going to lock them in debt for half their adult life. That's why people are speaking out online about these insane student debts. It's not about avoiding responsibility. It's about calling out a broken system that keeps people stuck. The American system of student loans, student debts, it's really broken. What about you? Are your monthly loans hitting like a second rent or a second mortgage? Or have you managed to keep the interest down? Let's talk in the comments. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.